Kevin Durant and Damian Lillard's homecoming game. So Dame and KD both played at the homes of like the teams that have recently traded them. So KD went over to Brooklyn to play the Brooklyn Nets, and Dame went back to Portland, to the Rip City. The Nets gave Kevin Durant a tribute video just before the game. As a Nets fan, I am absolutely fuming. What did he do with us? Why did we make him a tribute? Like, for what? Making it to the second round in 1 year and then getting swept after, only to leave? He gets a tribute for that? I was absolutely disgusted at that tribute video and the fact that he even deserved one. Like, he doesn't deserve one, at least in my personal opinion as a Brooklyn Nets fan. He wasted our time for 3 years just constantly teasing us. Granted, like, the reason for his split up wasn't primarily his fault. It was more Kyrie being a quack, and I think if Kyrie wasn't all that, he probably would have stayed. And what was worse is that they left when they were on, like, the biggest winning streak in franchise history. Like, they were going up, 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 and then immediately out of nowhere, Kyrie was just like, oh, let me get out of here. I want to get traded. It's so difficult being a Brooklyn Nets fan. Like, you have absolutely no idea how difficult it is. Like, I don't know how we do this to ourselves every single time. It dates all the way back to when KG and Paul Pierce were traded to the Nets, and then our picks become Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And then we did it to Harden, and then we get Ben Simmons, who's injured yet again. Like, who would have thought? More on him later, though. And now we're stuck, because of all this, now we're stuck in Midtown. So, obviously, we lost in a blowout because we stink. And it's not even, but it's not like in this game, it's not like we played bad, but it's just we weren't hitting as many shots as we should have. And when you go up against a team like Phoenix, if you don't have elite defense, which right now we're like, again, we're a mid team, so we're like mid in every single category, both offense and defense, ranked 17th. If your offense isn't performing tonight, your defense has to be there to stop those three elite scorers, along with the rest of the scorers that are on that team. And if you don't have that defense, you better make sure that you can score every single possession, because best believe that they will. Kevin Durant, this last game, he took out all of his anger of not being in the GOAT conversations on us and dropped 33 on 10 for 16. I actually, you know what? I'll touch on that. I've never really talked about Kevin Durant and how he wanted to. How he's confused about how he's not in any of the GOAT conversations, and how he believes that he should be up there. When you leave and you go to Golden State, the team that beat you, and then you leave them, and then they win without you, you are not going to get into any type of GOAT conversations whatsoever. Not to mention, LeBron already exists, and he will always be second place to LeBron. Always. No matter what. Kevin Durant's career in the postseason, like if you just get rid of Golden State, it's actually one that could rival Harden if you think about it. I mean, what other accomplishments has he done in the playoffs besides play with a very stacked team in Golden State? It sounds like I'm discrediting his rings, and that's because I am. Like, the team was literally the Avengers. Like, nobody was beating them. Credit to him for being the best player like on that team at the time, but it's just, to me, you can't be that guy strictly with those guys. Like, you can't be the player that, like, you can't be that closer and that have that GOAT reputation if you only play well in the postseason with a specific set of teams. Like, then that specific team, with how stacked it was just completely unfair. And this is why I say LeBron is obviously better than him, because he's shown he can win without Kyrie. He's shown he can win without Dwayne Wade. He's shown he can win without Bosh. And he's shown he can win without Anthony Davis. And none of those players would have had any of their rings without him. You can't be the guy with only those guys. Not to mention, Kevin Durant is also the type of guy that would brag about beating a handicapped kid in a foot race. I saw that on Twitter. Special shout out to Barry on here. The game started out competitive, but then the scoring for the Suns was on fire for the third quarter. The Nets, they never came back. Like, maybe if we had Ben Simmons to get some stops, we'd be able to win the game. Who knows? Maybe the game would have been a lot more competitive. But Ben Simmons apparently re-injured himself. This time it's his knee. He said that the day before, like when he aggravated his ankle, like at the game, he said he was fine. according to reporters. But then his status moved from fine to then questionable, and then from questionable to no. Like, I just knew he was going to sit this one out. The minute he was listed as questionable, I just knew he was going to sit this one out. He's just... It really infuriates me how someone who is 6'10" and built like the next LeBron is just this soft and like this scared to play basketball. And it infuriates me how he's wasting his talents. Like, he's scared of the media ridiculing him. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Please get him off my Brooklyn Nets. Now, he's going to pull a Kyrie and like play whenever he feels like it with this day-to-day status that he has now. Like, he could have played defense. He could have played legitimate defense on Durant. And like, he's arguably the best matchup against those type of players, against like Giannis, against like KD. He's perfect for those matchups. Is he scared? Is he scared to play against them? Like, it would somewhat make sense, seeing as how Ben Simmons sort of abandoned his team when we expected him to play in the Boston Celtics series, but he just chose not to for whatever reason, because in my opinion, he was scared. But he does this like all the time. It's a pattern with him, and it's so annoying. Please get him off my team. But enough of me ranting about my terrible team, and let's just talk about Portland's homecoming and Damian Lillard. Dame finally returned to Rip City. I don't know if they played his tribute video on the Jumbotron, but a lot of fans showed him the love that he rightfully deserved. I was able to see the one on the Nets because I have the Yes app. They made him one in the beginning of the year. Portland made a tribute video for Damian Lillard at the beginning of the year when he got traded. I know it doesn't mean much either, but he put up with them for like the longest time. Like, I know he didn't do much on Portland, similar to how Kevin Durant didn't do much on Brooklyn, but he put up with them for the longest time and tried his hardest to win with them. And we all know that he wanted to win with them. And he's their franchise leader in points, which definitely like gives him much more of a reason to get a tribute video than Kevin Durant. Unfortunately, his return home didn't go as he would have hoped, as the Bucks would lose in a close one to another bottom-feeding team. Like, I've been high on the Bucks like for a while, but now like since Doc Rivers is their coach, like that's also playing a part into why I've been a little bit more worried about them recently, and I might have given them a little too much credit than they deserve. Like, I've always said that like, oh, they just need to figure it out post All-Star break. Well, now I don't even know if they will figure it out post All-Star break. Like, Giannis was good at this game up until the end. Giannis was good in this game up until the end of the game. More on that later. But it's primarily Dame that I'm worried about. Like, his shooting numbers look like straight tour dates sometimes. He went 9 for 23 from the field and 3 for 13 from 3. If he can't get his offense consistent enough and ready for the postseason, then the Bucks are going to be in for a lot of trouble, because Dame's lack of defense is going to hurt them in the postseason. And I mentioned Giannis was good until the end of the game, and that's just because he missed both free throws that would have put the score within one. Now, the Bucks, in my opinion, I'm not entirely sure if this was the fault, if this was Giannis's fault. Like, he made the free throws? No, he missed the free throws, pardon me. He missed the free throws. So, obviously, that part is his fault. But when the play before that, like before he got fouled on the play, the Bucks, they fouled previously, and Portland was sent to the line where now they get to shoot free throws, and they made it a 3-point game. With that in mind, you're going to have to inbound the ball from one side of the court and try to get all the way to the other side of the court just to see if you can get a shot up. Because Portland eventually ended up making those two free throws to make the score to make it a 3-point lead. So, however, on the inbound, it wasn't a center, it wasn't a forward that was inbounding it. It was Dame. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you know what? Don't correct me if I'm wrong, because I know I'm not. But Damian Lillard has this clutch reputation behind him. So why is he the one inbounding the ball here? Why isn't Giannis inbounding the ball? Like, he literally is known for hitting these clutch shots and these deep clutch shots as well. He was the best bet to potentially win the game. I mean, I'm sure he was going to get fouled, and again, like, if he did get fouled, he's also your best bet in making free throws. Because of this, he passed the ball to Giannis, and obviously the Blazers said, that's free real estate, and went and fouled him. This is a problem, though, because Dame should have been the one to take the last shot. Like, I don't care what anyone says, Dame should have been the one to take that final shot in that game, and Giannis should have been the one to inbound the ball. And it wasn't like, I didn't see much, like, wanting from Dame to, like, take that final shot. Like, I don't see, you know how there's players that, like, when they, I'll give you an example. Kobe Bryant, whenever it's late game, or Michael Jordan, those type of players, like, late in the game, 4 seconds left, you need a shot, and you have to run down the court, both of those players would say, give me the ball. Like, no hesitation, give me the ball. But Damian Lillard just walked to the inbound. Like, he didn't even wait for someone to go try and inbound it. He walked to the inbound and inbounded it to Giannis. Now, personally, if I was Dame, I wouldn't have done that. I would have told Giannis to go inbound the ball himself and then put myself in that situation to help win the game for the Bucks. And not only that, in his own city, like, I would have done that if I was Dame, simply because of, like, you need that killer instinct. And it's like, the fact that he didn't have that killer instinct in the fourth quarter when he usually normally does is very, very concerning to me. It is very, very concerning to me. It was a very dumb move. It's one of the dumbest moves that I've seen in a while. And then we also have to talk about the other problem, which was Giannis and him actually missing these free throws late in the game. He missed both of them, meaning that there was no chance that the Bucks were going to end up winning this game. If he would have made both of them, there was enough time on the clock for them to potentially foul and then maybe get another shot off. However, there were no timeouts. So that's essentially what killed the Bucks in this situation, wasting all of their timeouts and not having enough for the end of the fourth quarter. Now, is this a problem with Doc Rivers with the addition and him being the new head coach? So far, they haven't won a game with him as the head coach, and like the last 2 games they've lost with him as the head coach, and it's really not looking good. It's really not looking good for Doc Rivers, and you know how I feel about Doc Rivers. He has that reputation of, like, constantly falling short come the postseason, not making the right play, not calling the right plays, not making the right substitutions, all that kind of stuff. It's like it's common for Doc Rivers, and that also has me very, very scared going into the postseason for the Bucks. So I'm gonna, like, lower the hype meter for them and say that they really need to work on certain aspects of their offense, and Dame has to get better. He has to play better, and he has to be ready to play better. But with that, we are out of time for our first segment, and we are going to go into the next segment where I give a quick recap of the previous games that happened from last night after this short break. So I'll be right back.